everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Annabelle.
Hi everyone, I'm Mark.
And this is, what is it? It's our life in France, isn't it?
It is.
Welcome back to the channel. I've even forgotten the name of our channel. It's been so long since we've done a video that...
It's been some time.
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
It absolutely has.
We would like to post a bit more regularly. I mean, that's something I think we need to work on.
Yeah, it's something. It is something we have to improve on. It's not been as often as you'd like.
No, but there is a reason for that, isn't there?
Yes, we've been, as always,
busy.
as always, very busy. Very busy.
Yeah. We've been really busy, but we don't forget our community here on YouTube because we love creating these videos. We really enjoy it, don't we?
Absolutely.
We do enjoy
it's great.
We enjoy these. So, you know, we would always come back and I think we'd pick up the pace again. But I think today we wanted to do a video on visas. We wanted to go back over the visa process and just do a recap, I think, and talk about anything else that we might have maybe forgotten or we didn't tend to maybe explain very well or in full. You know?
Yeah, it's to go back over the different aspects of what you need to do and what you need to cover as part of that whole process of, you know, getting your visa for moving to France, and it can be quite a process.
Yeah, and it really is. It can be quite a confusing and stressful time when you sit and you think, God, you know, which visa am I going to apply for? Which one applies to me? You know, there's a lot to think about. Am I going to be active, non-active, retired, a student? Am I going as a family visa?
You could go with family visa. You could go as part of, like, with me, as you know, part of the family of my wife. So that makes a big difference as well. And so there's a lot of choice, and you have to choose the right one.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll be able to go over all the different various visa applications into depth for all of those scenarios, but we can just give a general overview of like where to start, what to expect, and our experience, Mark's experience. Anyway, I don't have a visa because I don't need one.
Yeah, I do.
But you do.
I do.
And many people do need to think about their visa application. And I think whether you're in the process of buying a property here in France, because you don't need to have a visa to buy in France.
You absolutely don't. And actually, having a property in France already makes the visa process actually simpler in one aspect.
Yeah, it supports your visa application actually, doesn't it? If you are a home owner. But it's not going to necessarily mean that you're going to be guaranteed your visa. So it is a bit of a risk still if you don't have your visa and you've already bought your house. Just beware that, there will be a risk, you know.
There's no guarantees around it, but you do have to have a property or an address in France when you're actually making your visa application. So that is one of those reasons why if you own a house already in France, it takes away that need to find an address to put onto the visa application.
Well, yeah, because that is a difficulty with the whole process of you know, making an application, whether it's for your visa or to open a bank account, for example. They do ask you for your French address a lot of the time, and it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of situation, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh well, I haven't moved to France yet, but I need to have an address and a base in France before I can actually begin the visa application process. So I mean, it can be tricky. So, I mean, but a lot of people do use gîtes, don't they? They come and they do a B&B, and I think you can use that address.
You can, as long as the person who owns the gîtes is happy with you, because you know you've got to be staying there for some time. Then that's a good way around it. You can do that, absolutely.
Yeah. You just have to be sure that they're all okay with that. But many are okay with that. Because, you know, a lot of people do move to France and base themselves in a gîte or a B&B maison d'hôte to begin with. And you could be staying there for a few months, you know. So it kind of does become your address for a while.
Yeah,
anyway.
Some people do that. I mean, we didn't need to, but some people do.
Yeah. So that's why it's really good and important, though, isn't it, to brush up on your French.
It is.
If you're going to move to a country that doesn't speak your language and it's a different language, you have to brush up on the language.
It's a requirement. Yeah, you've got to have that.
And that's part of the visa process as well. They're going to expect you to show a certain level of proficiency in French. And you're not really going to be able to get away from it. And also, if you're going to be living here, yes, you could surround yourself with expats or whatever, or people that speak your language. But really, you want to integrate into the country that you live in. And France is just such a rich country. It's such a beautiful language. You'd really be missing out on so much. And it's going to be hard. You're going to be isolating yourself from the rest of the world out there, and that's what I don't want for you. I don't want it for you. And it just takes, and only you can do it as well. So it is really down to you, because you have all the tools and all the doors are open for you to go through that door and go, and you have to do it every day.
But if you want to get your residency permit, you have to have that. You have to have a B1 or B2 level French these days. So
that's it, because I think it's gone up a bit. This standard, the level.
It was A2. Now it's B2.
Which
is business level French.
Yes. So, and the thing is, that level's not going to be going down now. They're just going to keep that bar going quite high.
It will be forever business level, because
I think at the moment they're still quite lenient, on people. But
it will be business level, and it will forever be business level, because they expect people who are coming here with a visa to be able to assimilate in relation to the working environment. So even if you are coming here retired, you have to have that level.
Yes, even if you come retired, you need that
from
level.
A residency level, from a residency visa.
Yeah. But that's part of the adventure, isn't it? It's part of the new challenge and this whole, exciting move to France.
Well, you help them with their visas, you help them with their bills, you help them with everything in relation to the French admin, and you do everything from people helping with their visa and their carte séjour renewals, right through to helping people find properties. So you do everything.
So I help you with all the challenges that you might face that you're not quite used to yet, and administrative tasks, like you're saying, and all your applications and things that you're going to have to do here in France. So I'll leave that on the link in the description below for you, and you can come and visit the website, which is www.normandyconsultancy.com.
It is.
Let's talk about the common challenges then that you might face during that application visa process. And you can come across quite some challenging times. I think just ensuring that all your documentation is all gathered, and that you've really that you've got your list of documents that are required, and you're going to tick them off one by one as you go.
I'll also say it depends on where you're applying as well. For example, when I was applying for my initial visa, my visa to be here to move to France, you can provide all your original documents and so forth in the local language of where it was from. So, for example, I was born in Hong Kong. It's an English colony, so my birth certificate was English. And I could submit that as part of my application. And the application meeting with them was all in English, and it was absolutely fine. When I got here and I went to renew my visa and get my titre séjour, which happens after a year of being in France, you change your visa to a carte séjour, titre séjour.
You renew it.
Yeah, you basically renew it. You have to do it after the first year, because you only get a year in the first one. That is then all in French, because you have to do it at the prefecture. And also, you have to have recent documentation within. If you're not not French, it has to be within the last 6 months. So for me, I had to get another copy of my birth certificate. When I'd done my original application, I didn't need to, but when I'd done my renewal in France, I had to. So that's something just to bear in mind, that there's a difference between...
It's between 3 to 6 months.
It is, but
but because yours was maybe from Hong Kong, your birth certificate, maybe you were allowed up to 6 months.
No, if you're not French, it's 6 months. If you're French, it's 3 months. But my point being is, if you're doing your initial application outside of France, actually they're a bit more lenient and the documentation's a bit easier to come by. And yeah, they're not quite as strict and heavy-handed.
No.
But that's the way it is. That's part and parcel. That's part and parcel.
Yeah, so I think, basically ensuring you have all the required documents, like your valid passport. It's got to be valid.
You've got to have at least 6 months on it.
Yes.
At least 6 months.
And proof of accommodation. So
again, you have to be able, like we discussed at the start, you've got to have an address, which for me was actually your mum's. So that actually was useful for me, because of your mum being in France.
Yeah.
But if we didn't have anyone living here and we didn't have a property at all, we would have had to have found a gîte or something to allow me to have that address to get my visa. And you can't actually make that application in France from being here. You have to do that in your country of original residence.
Yes, you have to do it in wherever, either the UK or America or the US, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have to have your proof of financial means. Show that you can actually support yourself. And how are you going to do that? So you have to show any proof of that, bank statements or work contract. Maybe.
For me, it's slightly different as well on that one, because you're French and I'm married to you, so that actually I didn't have to provide that, which was interesting. But because the company I work for, they have an office in France, I get a French contract anyway, so that gives me the benefit of the French private healthcare with them as well, and all these different things. But it's interesting. I didn't actually have to prove that to get my visa. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you need to have...
Is it the last 12 months or something?
You need to show your last 12 months. But
12 months, I would. Just in case you need the whole year, which is not unusual to be asked for.
And it has to be above the minimum wage. Which,
of the SMIC.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's about, at the time of speaking, I think it's about 14,000 euros.
Yeah, it's just over 14.
It's equivalent to £12,500, I think it was, but it's about 14,000 euros. Which, you need to have that.
And I think you can actually do a combined one if you're coming as a couple, and then it will be about 23.
It will be. Because it's weird, because all taxes and that in France are actually combined as well. So family. So it's slightly different. Income taxes all combined.
And then any additional documents that are specific to your visa type, that specifically for you. So if it's like a business visa.
There's variations, isn't there?
Which is more complex. It's going to be a bit more more. It's going to take longer to process and to get your application going through, because it involves doing your business plan, and that's a whole other task for you to do, which is pretty intense.
It can be, I mean, what's the other visas? If you're a student, I think you have to be enrolled into a university or something like that as well. So you have to have, it's all the different proofs depending on what you're going for. I'm not sure about the retiree one actually, but I think that's just if you've got proof of income.
Or an entrepreneurial visa.
You can go for that one as well, which like you have your own company.
You can actually, it's not like a business visa, but it is a visa that still allows you to...
It's a working visa.
Work in France. You could have your gîte, your maison d'hôte up and running. So it would allow you to do that. So, I mean, there are lots of options there for you.
There's a lot of options, and really what you should do is have a look at what's best for you. Because once you've applied, I don't know how easy it is to change. If it's anything like standard things in France, it'll be quite complicated.
Or you keep that visa for the year, and then it gives you time to plan the visa that you actually really are going to need. So instead of doing a renewal, you will then go for an application of the whole new visa application, which may mean you might need to go back to your country of origin to go and do that.
It's interesting.
At the consular.
People do that. It's quite interesting. They'll come here and they'll try it out for a year without being able to work or something because of the visa they've got, and then actually they will then apply for a different visa to allow them to then work or to start their own business and so forth. You've got options.
But then you've got to be aware that when you are applying for your visa, they take your passport away from you. And they will give it back, obviously. But they need to stamp it, and if it's your first visa, you won't be able to travel during that time.
Yeah, when you first apply. When I remember when I went to London to get my initial year visa, because it's initially a year, and to stamp it in my passport. They took my passport, and they only took them. It didn't take very long. It took them about 3 weeks.
Quick for you, actually, wasn't it?
It was very quick, actually.
They were very quick.
2 to 3 weeks, I think it took them. But it can take longer.
It can take up to a week. I think the shortest time it can be done within a week.
I know that when you're doing your renewal of your visa in France, they don't take your passport then, because you are renewing your carte de séjour, which is your French identity card, basically.
No, it's only if you're doing a whole new visa application.
When you're starting from ground zero.
Then it's a different ball game. But renewal it's simple enough. You just want to make sure you give yourself plenty of time to do that. Don't wait till the last minute.
But please don't do that. You can start doing your application. You can make your application 3 months before your visa expires. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't. I was a bit late to the game. I think I applied mine 6 weeks before mine expired. But they did turn around and they said that, we're issuing it, we're working on it. And for my benefit for me is they were behind on everything they were doing. So they delayed issuing it for 1 month and then done it again for another month. And then they have now issued it, but I need to go in. I've got a paper copy. I need to go in and get my actual document.
Well, what they gave you was the récépissé. So it's a proof that your visa is actually done, or it's in the process, or it's actually been done, and it allows you to stay. You're legal, and you've got no problem. You just keep hold of that until you go, you go to recuperate your visa from the prefecture. Okay, because you have to go in person to go and get that.
Absolutely.
And in your case, we're going to have to go there soon.
I need to go and pick one up.
It's there. It's ready and waiting.
I have to go and pick up before they get too annoyed with it sitting there.
We haven't had time. We've been so busy. We haven't even had time to go and do that.
And annoyingly, I can't make an appointment at it. I can't make. Actually, I've been online so many times to try and make an appointment, and I can't do it because of their website. But
we're used to that though.
We'll just turn up.
We do what we always do, and we just go straight there.
I just turn up on the door, and then
and they're very nice, very polite, and they say yes. What are you here for? And they'll either say, well, here's your appointment, or come in and we can do that now.
Yeah, it depends what it is, but
they're pretty good.
They'll normally book an appointment. That's what they'll do.
Yeah, so we will do that soon.
Yes. We mentioned the processing time. It can take a while to process. In the UK, when I had to get my initial visa, you have to go in and have a meeting and an interview with them with all your documentation, and they stamp it, check it, make sure everything's there that should be there. If there's something not there, they'll send you away to go and get it. There's no, I can get that later. No. If you haven't got it there, or they're not happy with what they've got in front of them, again, they don't hold prisoners when it comes to that.
And if you're doing it as a couple, don't assume that just one of you needs to have all the documents. You must have each your own files with everything and probably more in there, and anything else that you think might be of interest to them, like a previous marriage, divorce papers, I don't know, anything else, maybe proof that you've worked in another country before, or you've paid tax in a different countries. whatever that is, or other nationalities, any other passports you hold. I don't know, anything like that.
All of that is beneficial.
You must take all of that with you, because they will want to know. They need to know.
They'll check it all out.
They will want to know, and if they don't, then they don't. But at least, and also you don't want to be turned away, because it happens where, people haven't applied properly.
No.
Because you have to go online, you've got to fill out the form online and book your appointment. And if, for example, you're booking an appointment for a couple, don't think that appointment is for both of you. You need 2 appointments. And so you need your own times, your own dates. And when you go on there, you'll be able to select your, date and time.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could come to a consultant who can do it for you. So you can save time, you're going to save money, you're not going to have travel costs for because of a silly error or something like that. You're going to have all your paperwork ready. I would highly advise it, because it does happen.
Make your life a little bit easier.
Not everybody needs it, it's true, but many people do need that, and not everyone has the time to go through all their documents and double check everything and plan it, and everyone's got busy lives. So it can be a complex or a straightforward application. It really depends on your situation.
Mine was pretty straightforward. I just had a good conversation with the person behind the counter. It was really nice. I had all the documents there. It's fine. His marriage certificate and everything. It's all good. Stamped it all, and then sent me to go get my fingerprints done, photos taken, took my passport.
Don't be surprised that they take your fingerprints and photos. And I mean, you could take your photos with you, but they're going to do your photo there. So take photos anyway. I'm not saying don't, but I believe that they do that there. So the application forms might be in French.
Don't
be surprised.
They were, but I think they had English. It was English and French when I applied with online, because you're applying from the UK. I can't remember the name of the website now, but that's it. It's the standard visa application website, and it's not too tricky. You just got to fill in everything they ask for, provide everything they ask for, and then
is that VTLS?
That's the
VTLS.
That was the part. That's the type of visa.
Yes, but I think they're called VTLS centres, aren't they? That you have to go to.
Yes.
And there's 3 of them. If you're in the UK, for example, there's 3 centres that you can choose from when you're doing your application, and you can either choose to go to London, Manchester, or Edinburgh. They're the 3, so it depends which one works best for you. So don't hesitate to ask a bilingual consultant or use your translation tools, to try and understand exactly, because you don't want to get anything wrong at that point, because that's vital.
You don't want to waste time as well, because it can be a hassle, to be honest.
So yes, you need to demonstrate sufficient funds that you can support yourself during your stay. So anything like bank statements, pay slips, tax declarations, anything like that, they can check these things with. And then we've done proof of accommodation, and then the processing times. Visa processing times, they can vary. So there can be delays and uncertainties with the processing times. So that's not an unusual thing.
No, certainly on a renewal as well.
Yeah.
On the initial application, I think it's not too bad, because you're doing it in the local country. But the renewal side of it, it depends.
It depends, because even if you apply for your first time visa in the UK, for example, you could have a delay because they could have a huge backlog.
Yeah, the conversation with them about why you're doing it and where you're going to be going to, and lots of numerous questions about you.
Maybe additional documents they might ask you during that time. Or anything else.
You just have everything to hand. Take all your documentation with you, and that's the best step. Because they give you a list of documents that you have to have as part of depending on what visa you're going for, and that's part of what you should take with you.
And health insurance, you're going to have to show that, aren't you?
You do.
You're going to need
You
health
do.
insurance, whether it's private health cover or, that's probably the best option whilst you're in between.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the European health card does still work. I think it's still
if you've got the
part of
European health
the
card.
e-hit card. I think that is because I know I know people who visited. They still had theirs. It still
But
works.
in the UK, you don't get that anymore. It's not something you.
No, I think it's still part of it.
Is it?
Yeah,
I
think you can. I think so.
Oh, good. That's
Weirdly,
I'm glad.
I think you still can.
I'm
It's
glad
only
to hear that.
only for a short period. It's not
Right.
for that initial
Okay.
period. If you're going to be living here, then you have to have health cover.
Well, yes, you need health cover.
Yeah.
But I didn't think you could get the European health care card. The European card.
Yeah, I think you can.
I thought that was scrapped.
I think my mum had it. I think
Okay.
when she came here to visit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she wouldn't apply for it. Renewed it.
Okay. Well, make sure you've got some adequate health care cover.
Yeah. Make sure you got cover.
That's all that
from a health
matters.
point of view. Absolutely.
Hi there, guys. So I've actually just popped on to check and do a bit of research on the EU cards from the UK to see if they're actually still available or not, and to see if they're actually going to be enough cover for you for your visa and your time during your stay in France. And the EU medical cards from the UK, known as the European Health Insurance Card, they're actually still valid if you already have one, but until the expiry date. So you can still use it until the expiry date. However, after that, you need to apply for the UK Global Health Insurance Card, so which has replaced the European card, basically, for most of UK residents. So both cards provide similar benefits, allowing access to medically necessary state health care in the EU countries of the same terms as local residents. Okay, so if you have rights under the withdrawal agreement, you may still be eligible to apply for a new European card instead of the new global card that's available. But in any case, either way, just make sure that you have adequate medical private healthcare cover and insurance. So just making sure that your visa application is complete and checking the incompleteness of it and doing all the checks over. And what we did actually is we had paper copies of everything in a file, and we kept everything digital, didn't we? We had like digital files, and I know it sounds really straightforward and like
Copies of everything.
but it was so good to keep, and it was on the desktop. So when because we were asking for documents, waiting for new documents to come in and be emailed or whatever, or we'd scan them and then put them straight into our files, our separate files. And we had duplicates or our own copies of things for everything. And if we got an update, we just kept those files updated, so they were always to date until we moved, basically, until we'd done everything.
Absolutely.
And that was really, really good. It was a good way of avoiding any eventual complications or issues with paperwork, and we were really meticulous with that, weren't we? There were things that I did need, even though I've got my nationality, I've got my passport and my French ID card, I still needed to make sure that everything was still up to date, and I also had all my things and ducks lined up, and then we had to make sure that you did, but you always need to be organised. So the French like organisation, and there's one thing you're going to learn when you come to France. And you might have heard about it so many times, how administratively driven France is. And some people say it's not any worse than anywhere else.
It's document heavy.
But I think it is. And the French even say that it is document heavy. And because I've spoken with them very recently, I speak to them very often, actually, to people that work in the offices and everything. And you know, they admit it. They say, well, when I started my job, I loved it, and now I hate it. But love it and hate it because it's just so intense. You know, the paperwork it is intense,
Yeah.
but they are. What I find is that the French are sympathetic towards people, everyone really, that needs to go through this whole process, especially when it's from scratch. It's you have to have patience. And that's why they don't go too fast. They take their time with it, because imagine if you were having to do that at a high speed, it wouldn't be...
Well, they don't like the paperwork themselves, so, you know.
And you can't anyway. All these things take time. So yeah, it is intense. France can be, especially, it depends how complex your situation is, you know, but it can take a very long time to get things sorted out.
Okay.
Yeah. But you know, we're not going to paint a picture that it's all going to go smoothly and quickly, because it doesn't always work out.
It can be a lot harder than you'd like it to. But
you just have to.
It's a case by case situation, and you know, if you've got everything that you need, which they ask for, then you shouldn't have any problems.
What I say is expect it to be long.
Yeah.
And then if it goes quicker, then you're really in a good place. Then you can have a smile and you can be yes, you know, and be patient. And
patience is a virtue when it comes to France. That's for sure.
Patience. Yeah. Is there anything else that we might have missed out on this?
I mean, from my point of view, I know that you just need to take time when you're doing your visa applications and make sure you get it right, because otherwise it's a lot of back and forth. And if you've got to provide documentation, it can be a hassle. So I would always make sure and double check what you're actually filling in first. And then they can be very accommodating and they're very helpful, actually.
Yeah, so you have to just think about, do you want a long-term visa or do you need just a short-term visa? It's knowing like the renewals, like how that works. So then after a year, you're going to have to renew it.
Yeah.
And
but that's only when you get your first visa. You get an initial, for me, it's a family visa. If you get a working visa, it's still a year visa, and then you renew it to become your titre séjour, which then gives you another 2 years, and then you can renew it again, which gives you another 2 years, and at that point you can apply for a residency permit.
Yes,
which is
to obtain a 5-year residency visa.
Yeah.
You have to legally have continuously lived for 5 years at least in France.
Yeah, exactly. So until you've been here 5 years, you can't get that. I mean, even though we're married, for me it's probably a bit easier because I can get it because I'm married to you, but I still have to live in France for 5 years. Regardless.
And you're also going to have to prove that you've learnt some French and that you've integrated into French society.
You have to have B2 level French, basically.
And things like
that's
that.
What they require. And that's about the limitation on what they ask for. It's nothing too bad.
But they're questions that you would expect. It's nothing out of the ordinary, and you'd expect that in any country, wouldn't you? If you move somewhere, you're going to be expected to, you know, live by the norms and values of the country, learn some of the language, you know, you're showing that you're willing and that you're a good citizen and that you're part of the society.
It's just normal. That's what you have to do.
And although we work a lot from home, we still get out and about, and people do know us when we go out. They know who we are, and they're used to seeing us around. And I think in our spare time we like to go for walks in nature and visit chateaus and things like that. So we like to get out and about, because when we do go out we want to make the most of it. But yes, that's, I think, a good video. I think I'm really happy that we've done this today, and just leave us any questions if you have any questions, or you need to, you know, clarify, you want us to clarify anything, or anything about helping you with your move to France or your life in France. If you already live here, you know, we're always happy to answer any questions about living here in France, because, you know, we always hear about all the good stuff and the exciting things and all the rosy side of France. But you know, there's always a flip side, and there's always the other side to living somewhere, and it's not always brilliant and it's not always great, and sometimes
it can be hard. It can be hard.
Sometimes it's really hard.
But it's a great place to be. But same with anywhere. You have good things and there's bad things. And yeah, please leave comments and ask questions.
That's just the reality, isn't it? It's the reality of
it is absolutely.
Wherever you live, you know, it's part of getting to know the country, and just like anywhere. Yeah. But there you go, everybody. And we hope you enjoyed this video, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Take care.